And so financial freedom is just a formula. It's not necessarily a number. It's a number based on what your current lifestyle is. And there's levels to it too.
Break that down. So tell me what this formula is. You're saying it's a formula, but I want to understand what you mean by formula.
This is something that we talk about on our podcast a lot. It's called this is called levels of financial freedom. So level 1 is
welcome to Successfully Excludes Podcast, where I find regular people doing extraordinary and phenomenal things in corporate America and entrepreneurship. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. K. I have with me today Marlon Wells. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
No, I appreciate you for having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out. I know we've been connecting through Instagram, also the morning meetup. So shout out to David Shands and everybody. So I'm excited to be on here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So since you touched on it, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about this group that we get in every single morning, Monday through Friday. It's phenomenal. We talk about things like my podcast. You have a podcast as well, right?
Yes, sir. So we've had a podcast for 2.5 years, or almost 3 years now. It's crazy. Money Monopolizers. We've been, so when I say we, I'm talking about me and my friends since junior high. We've both known each other, both have pretty much pushed each other to be the best version of ourselves and kind of have gone on our financial freedom journey together. And so that is, and within that journey has been the podcast as well. So we've done like over 120 episodes, and we've continued to push the narrative of financial freedom as opposed to like the status quo of life of like graduating to college, going to a 9-to-5, working for 40 years, and then maybe living 11 years to work for years to retire. And so that's kind of been our philosophy around the podcast itself.
And that's an awesome philosophy. But the stuff that y'all give through Money Monopolizers, that podcast, and a podcast like, mine, Successfully Excludes, to me, that encompasses what the morning meetup is all about. I mean, you've got hundreds of people that come together because so often entrepreneurship, you're isolated, right?
Yep.
So how do you how do you go about getting into groups and finding yourself, coordinating with people like that?
Yeah, so that's a whole story, man, because in the beginning, it was just me and my podcast co-host. I'm gonna refer to him as his actual name, Alex. So me and Alex, before, we would be the only two that would have conversations around like investing. Because so back in 2018, me and him both decided that we wanted to pursue real estate, and real estate was our main thing that we were like trying to utilize in order to achieve like financial freedom and like build wealth for ourselves. And we had set like goals to retire early and everything. The problem is that we found that we were the only two in our like groups like back then that were like having this type of conversation. Like when we thought about our high school friends or even our friends from college, nobody was talking about like let's achieve financial freedom, or they didn't even know what that was. They weren't talking about investing. They were talking about what club are we going to on Friday or Saturday night. So we're like, okay, if we have the same conversations that we've been having already, and instead we put a camera in front of us and and pretty much do what's called a podcast, we'll be able to start spreading the same message to more people. So more people are familiar with it, more people know about it. And then we'll be able to start having conversations with more people. So that was like the initial spurt of the podcast, because we're trying to build more of a community around like this new narrative of trying to achieve financial freedom as opposed to live, like I said, living that status quo. And then going into like 2019 and 2020, this is where we really started having more conversations with other guests. Like we started bringing on different guests. So we started knowing about more people that were on the same path that we were on, and that were trying to achieve early financial freedom, that were building wealth empires through businesses or through investing. And so now we started building up our own community just within our guests. And we were able to just continue to make more connections that way. And that kind of is what led to me joining the morning meetup like in late 2020. Because David Shands was actually one of the guests we had tried to reach out to be on our podcast. Whole story on that. But that led me to wanting to join the morning meetup, because I realized that the power of community was so big as far as being able to reach all new levels, because now you have more accountability partners. You have more people that can push you forward, that can give you new ideas. And it's been above and beyond anything I could have imagined back then.
It's awesome to have, like you say, community, somebody that can push you and give you ideas. But what I also like about the community is that you can realize that you're not the only person going through something. Sometimes through struggles as an entrepreneur or just in life in general, and you come to find out that you're not the only one.
Right. Now that was very huge. And I think that's huge for a lot of other people too, because like even today, as a perfect example, I was in the morning meetup earlier and somebody had messaged Bryn, she's like the person who runs like the book club conversation, but she also runs like she's like the administrator for the group. And people will message her personally because they're too afraid to actually message in the main chat about like what their question is, because they feel like they have a dumb question or they feel like nobody is thinking that but them. And what you realize is that when you get into a community like this, majority of people do not necessarily know everything that there is to know about business. Like this is why the community was created, to help people actually get to the next level. And so the dumb questions that you think you have, that is invited to be asked in that type of environment, because we're all trying to level up. Like at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the next level. Nobody has it figured out. Even the people that are answering the questions may still not know all the answers. But that's why it's a safe space for you to be okay with not knowing it all, but being ready and willing to grow.
Man, that's it. Ready and willing to grow. You got to be able to take stuff in. And you talked about your desire to get into investing, and are you only talking about real estate investing? Or are you talking about the financial markets? What type of investing?
So yeah, back in 2018, me and Alex had both read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was that was in February of 2018. I think I read that book in 2 days. By the way, it was a whole story about how that came about. But he had recommended the book to me, and February 2018, I read that book, and like I said, within 2 days, and my entire mindset kind of shifted towards saying, let's find a way to build towards the financial freedom that he was talking about in the book. And so both me and Alex would have conversations, and we were pretty much said, okay, how can we get there? Like what route, what method can be used in order to get to everything that Robert Kiyosaki was talking about inside of the book. And we settled on real estate. That's something that kept on coming up constantly over and over. And so our goal was to achieve financial freedom through real estate primarily, or solely. We were going to just continue to flip houses. We were going to do multiple rental properties, and we were going to achieve financial freedom that way. And that was just our main way of our financial freedom strategy was all through just the real estate in the beginning. And it wasn't until the podcast where we started shifting our strategy, because we started interviewing different guests who were building financial freedom, who were building towards financial freedom faster through their different business ventures.
Yeah. But you said y'all started the podcast. You had this desire to get into investing, which was sparked by reading, which is phenomenal, right? You got to read to expand your mind and
yes, sir.
To something else. But you and Alex, your co-host, were the only ones kind of in this environment that had this idea and this will and desire to have more. How did y'all push yourselves to not be kind of succumb to the environment you're in and say nobody's doing this, but I'm gonna be the oddball and step out and learn something different?
To be honest, man, we've always been like that. So we both have personalities that push us to the top of whatever space we're in. So for myself, I was always driven towards like being just being great at whatever I do. Whatever I do, I'm gonna give my absolute best effort. And my effort is usually gonna push me to like being at the top of whatever group I'm in. And just by nature, to be honest, his drive is to always be the best at whatever he does. So combine both of us together, we almost are like rivals at the same time while we're doing whatever. Like that even came to something that's as minuscule as playing NBA 2K. Like we would have whole rivalry, man, we would play like 7 games a day just in playing 2K. Like I'll win one, he will win one. We go back and forth, back and forth. Nobody was touching us in 2K, because whenever we did, we applied the same mentality of I'm about to be great, or I'm about to be the best in this particular field. And so I don't care how well or what everybody else is doing. It's just like, I know that I want to be the best at this, or I want to be great at this. So I'm gonna put my full-fledged effort into it despite what anybody else is doing. And so that same mentality carried over into the real world. And what we saw was that the life that we were, I guess, taught to live is not necessarily a life that we want, that we desire for ourselves. And so we chose to go a different route, even though that everybody else was going one route. We knew that there was examples, at least, of people that were able to achieve success earlier by going a different route. And so, knowing that that's possible, we're okay with not going along with the status quo, because we know that there's other possibilities out there, and we just never were able to settle for like being in the middle of the crowd.
What was it like before that mindset shift, or your desire to get into financial markets? Were you always competitive, just as a child, or is that
Yeah,
later?
I was very self-driven. So there's a story that I always tell, just to give a prime example of how I was growing up. I really didn't see anything outside of, like, I had a very, very narrow tunnel vision. Like, whatever is my objective at that moment is what I'm doing. I don't care what I'm not very swayed by outside influences. So as an example, when I was in seventh grade, my dad really wanted me to play football, like really bad, because we had moved down here to Texas from Michigan. And down here, we quickly realized that football was king. We moved like when I was in fifth grade. Sixth grade, he put me in football. I really hated the game altogether. Seventh grade, I didn't join the football team for junior high, even though Alex did, and he was like way smaller than me back then. It was crazy. So seeing him on the team was like, man, he on the team. Hold on, I can be on there too. But my dad had told me, hey, every night before you go to bed, I want you to do 2 sets of push-ups and sit-ups. I want you to start off with 2 sets of 25 push-ups and sit-ups before you go to bed. Every week, I want you to add 1. Like, so next week you just be doing 2 sets of 26. Okay. Next week you do, after week after that, 2 sets of 27, and continue just to do that. Like I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but my brain is just like, I got to understand the assignment. Yeah. I'm going straight forward from there. Literally for the next 4 to 5 years, I did that every night.
Wait, 4 to 5 years?
For so my junior, I think I stopped my junior year of high school. I did it every single night.
Did you ever play football, or did you just handle that task?
No, so I ended up playing football in 8th grade. But from 8th grade on, you could tell I was one of the biggest people on the team.
Yeah.
So even today, like, people see my physique, they're like, man, this dude huge. They like, bro, what you do? I don't do nothing now in comparison. Like, I just I'll do the normal everyday workout, but everything happened back in junior high. No, in junior high and high school. Like I told you, I would do what's it called? Like those push-ups and sit-ups every night. I ended up getting to 3 sets of 115 push-ups and sit-ups every single night before I went to bed. And that kind of gives you an idea about just how my mentality was. Like, whatever I'm doing, I'm laser focused on it. And nobody's going to be able to keep up, just because I think one of my true gifts is consistency. No, that is probably one of my biggest gifts, because even the notes in the morning meetup, everybody has left notes before. Most people have left a note or two, but how many people have done it for over a year straight?
Listen, speaking on that, one thing I get shocked by. Well, first of all, most of the time I'm on my phone because, I'm working during the day, so it's on my phone. But you drop those notes and so fast. I'm like, how? How do you even get it that fast?
So now I'm combining some of my talents with my gift. So a talent that I have is just typing fast, but a gift is my consistency. So if I combine a talent with my gift, that's where I'm able to have just uncomparable results compared to what somebody else can perform, because I am comparing something that I am naturally talented at, which is just, with something I could work on, like a skill, versus something that is just a gift that is just like innately within me. So even doing the push-ups and sit-ups, I was operating within my gift. It wasn't necessarily a skill that I had to do push-ups, but because I'm operating in my gift of consistency, that's why I was able to do it for so long. Because I had other people that tried to start the push-ups and sit-ups too. They like, bro, this dude huge. Let me jump in on this too. I'm gonna do these for every night. 2 weeks later, hey man, you still doing those push-ups? They dropped off already. But like I said, I was going for like 5 years straight, doing it every single night. And that's what kind of set me apart physically. And that led me to also getting a scholarship to go to Stephen F. Austin. That's where I went to undergrad. And I actually got a full ride scholarship to play football there. I think that all started because of 7th grade doing those push-ups and sit-ups.
Because of your consistency.
Yes.
And you talk now, I've heard of consistency being like a major key for success. And you have to stay repetitive. You got to stay on the right path in order to get somewhere. But you talk about that as being your gift. I've never heard consistency as being somebody's gift, man. I think that might be a superpower.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of what a gift is. Your gift is your superpower. Like, what do you do better than anybody else? Matter of fact, Steve Harvey, I love listening to him. Like a few years ago, I listened to him every single day. He says your gift is the thing you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. And I'm naturally consistent. Yeah. Like every morning in the morning meetup, I'm just going to be here. Like, it doesn't hurt me. I don't dread it. I'm actually excited to get up. It doesn't. So other people, they'll be like, man, I got to take notes again. Man, I'm sick of doing this. Somebody got to pay me for this. I ain't been paid for that. I'm just doing it. Like, it's just what I do. But I also understand the key of adding value to other people, especially to other communities.
You're adding value to other people, but nobody's retaining the information as much as the person consistently taking.
Check this out. If not, this is a whole story with how the note started. When I first started taking the notes, I had no idea that I was going to be the note go or the note taker of the morning meetup. My thing was that because I know my strength is consistency, my weakness is paying attention. So paying attention is not something that was always what I was good at. Like, I could zone out better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So what keeps me focused is taking notes. And so if I'm taking notes, I'm laser focused on what the speaker is saying. So because I type fast, I can type pretty much what they said verbatim. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes every now and again, they would say something that's really, really good. Like, bro, that was a gem. I would leave that in the chat and they'd be like, I'm so glad you caught that. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. And I've always been the person too, to go search links or like to go research something when somebody mentions I don't know, if somebody mentions a celebrity, like if they say a celebrity name, let's say Will Smith, I would literally go search Will Smith and show a picture of him, just like in just day-to-day conversations with my friends when I was younger. And that was something I naturally did. So doing the things I was naturally like to do and adding that to the morning meetup, that's allowed me to be able to actually add that level of value to the community. But now it also lets me pay attention to what's being said at the end of the day, because otherwise I would probably zone out half the time throughout the morning meetup. So it does keep me attentive at the same time.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. So you mentioned undergrad. That would lead me to believe you went to grad school.
Yep. So that is correct. So my undergrad was at Stephen F. Austin. I majored in engineering physics. And then I went to grad school at Purdue. That was, when I start that? July of 2018, I went to Purdue and I did a 2-year master's degree, a master's in mechanical engineering. And so after that, I ended up moving back. So Purdue is in Indiana, and I ended up moving back here to Houston afterwards.
Okay. All right. So that leads me to the question, the businesses you run, the podcasting, the entrepreneurship, but you put all of this time, money, energy, effort into this education. Do you think that was a waste?
Man, that's a good question. I've been asked something like that before. I wouldn't say it's a waste, because I think everything does happen for a reason. Now, I will say the way I've always been is that, well, for one, when I did undergrad, like my full goal was just to go into engineering. The master's degree was more so because when I first graduated undergrad, my goal was to get a mechanical engineering degree of some sort. So before I even knew about financial freedom, before I ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I had already declared it within my mind, at least, that I wanted to go to grad school. And so when I got to work my first full-time job, I told them immediately when I got there, I said, okay, I'll be here for 6 months. So I graduated from undergrad in December of 2017. January of 2018 is where I started working full-time. And then February of 2018, like 1 month later, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So my mindset had shifted 1 month in, but on January, I already said I wanted to do grad school. So I was only going to be there for 6 months anyway. And so during that time between January 2018 and July of 2018, that 1 month was all narrow focused on working and going to grad school. Anytime, then everything after February was about how can I start making my exit from the 9 to 5 life. So I went to grad school almost as a formality because I like to follow through with what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I like keeping my word for whatever. So I don't like to really. That's probably that's a gift and a curse for me in a lot of ways. Like whatever I say I'm going to do, we're going to stick to it and get it done, even if it's irrelevant now, because that's my nature. Even the push-ups, that I'm gonna stick to it regardless. And another story. And when I was in undergrad, I was a 4.0 student every single semester, like in engineering physics, and on the football team. Every single semester, 4.0. That 7 semesters straight.
Yeah.
And that's just my nature. Like I do whatever I see, whatever I commit to, I'm going to stick to it, and I'm gonna perform at a high level in it. So that's kind of just been my story.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the episode. I hate to interrupt, but I had to tell you about a community that I'm a part of. It's called the Morning Meetup. It's where hundreds of entrepreneurs gather every single morning. Look, we share ideas, we motivate each other, we share our successes. It's the perfect environment for you to not only grow as an individual, but as an entrepreneur. It's hosted by my mentor, David Shands. It's every day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. It's no better way to start your day. Look, we've got a book club. Imagine hundreds of entrepreneurs reading the exact same book on the exact same chapter. You get to discuss that book and share your thoughts. It's very motivating. It empowers you, and you're ready to start your day. You get all of that for only $1. After that, it goes to $79 a month. I have no doubts that you're going to want to stay and be a part of this community. Look, I'm there every single morning, 8 a.m. The only thing we're missing is you. The link is in the description. Go ahead, click the link, try it out, join the community. Look forward to seeing you in the morning.
So it wasn't a waste because you're using those talents now and that education and to propel you in business and in entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah, and I would say a lot of my analytical nature has come from just becoming a good engineer. So I learned some technical skills that have really helped me out as far as, let's say, spreadsheets, anything in regards to like doing any type of analysis. That's something that I've been able to fine tune as well by way of having an engineering background. There's some other tangible things I've been able to accomplish too, or been able to take from engineering to what I do now. But I wouldn't say anything is a waste. So I think everything does happen for a reason. I've been able to build good connections everywhere I've been to, and they may be lifelong resources for me as well. So you never know what you may have come across by way just because you chose to make a decision that that you may not now see as advantageous.
Right. And then you also played football. And do you see sports and your athletic abilities or just that journey in itself playing a part in your entrepreneurship too?
I never thought about that. I would say no, a lot of a lot of philosophies that come from playing a sport, especially at a high level, can carry over into real life in various ways. So I remember there's one thing I never forget that my coach used to always say: control what you can control. That was one of the biggest messages that he had for us just within our safeties, because I was a safety in college. That's my position. I played in football. He would always say, control what you can control, because a lot of people are always concerned about the outside factors. Is it raining outside? Let's say in football sense, what did the other person do on my team? Like he didn't do his job, so now I couldn't do my job. As long as you do your job, everything else has to take care of itself. You can't control anybody else but yourself. And so if you can always approach everything with saying that I control what I control, then you let everything else fall into place. It's the same thing within business. If you can always believe that you're in control and you dictate the final outcome, you can continue to place the responsibility on yourself to do what you would do, to do your part. It's at the end of the day. That's kind of one of the biggest takeaways I got from playing football was that particular philosophy.
That's a great lesson, to take the responsibility, because too many of us shun things off on our circumstances or on something. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great lesson to own it, you know?
Yep. And some people play the blame game. Some people play victim. And the alternative is taking responsibility and saying, I'm in the situation and I control my outcome.
Absolutely. So you was making this transition, and it was all about real estate investing. How did that go?
So real estate went really well.
How
Say
that?
again?
I said, how did that go? Or better yet, how is it going?
Right. Yeah. So, good question about how's it going? Because if you look at my background, if anybody is watching on YouTube or just whatever video platform you have it on, you'll be able to see that I live in a studio apartment right now. So I got my over here actually. Oh yeah, if you're such on full screen mode, you can see everything for real. So front door, kitchen, bathroom right here, bedroom, and then over here is the closet. Then this is my TV. This is the whole space right here. So what this is called is not. I'm not in an apartment though. I'm in an actual house that has a garage apartment attached to it. So what I did, and what I did even back when I was in grad school, this was huge in grad school, especially. I'm gonna tell the grad school story first. When I was in grad school, or I guess before then, I was saving up to buy a house because one thing we learned within real estate was that you can lower your living expenses to achieve financial freedom earlier. And so financial freedom is just a formula. It's not necessarily a number. It's a number based on what your current lifestyle is.
Wait,
And
wait,
there's levels to it too.
break that down. So tell me what this formula is. You're saying it's a formula, but I want to
Yeah.
understand what you mean by formula.
This is something that we talk about on our podcast a lot. It's called this is called levels of financial freedom. So level one is just covering your daily or your monthly expenses, whatever those monthly expenses are. So the formula basically is what are your monthly expenses? Let's say you have a house, let's say your housing, your car, your food, insurance, or family, whatever. That number is what you have to replace in order to replace from either business income or through passive income in order to leave your 9 to 5 as at the base level. If you want to, that is what you have to cover in order to be able to live comfortably. So the goal for level one financial freedom is to be able to lower your monthly expenses. Instead of you having to increase your income to a certain amount, you can do both. You can increase your income while decreasing your expenses to get there faster. And so what we end up doing to lower our housing expense, because if you look at a pie chart, matter of fact, before I even get there, if you look at a pie chart, you'll see that and break down your monthly expenses into a pie chart, you'll see that the housing probably takes up 33 to 50% of your gross month or of your monthly expenses. And so what people try to do to lower expenses is try to cut out all the little things. They try to cut out their Netflix subscription, cut off their Amazon subscription. They stop going out to get a morning coffee before work. All those things are like minuscule. I don't know how much Netflix is. It's less than $100 a month. Same thing with Amazon, less than $20 a month. A morning cup of coffee may be $5. If you multiply that times 30 every day every day throughout the month, you can go get a coffee. That's $150. All of those numbers are minuscule. How much is your rent payment though? Your rent payment is probably like $1,000 to $2,000, depending on where you live, of course, because it can definitely vary on a high or low scale. But your rent payment could be 800, 1,000, whatever. So what if you eliminated that? If you eliminate that, now you have drastically decreased your monthly expenses, and now you need significantly less income to replace your day-to-day expenses.
Yeah.
So what we end up doing is this term called house hacking, something that we learned while we were studying real estate. What house hacking is basically where you buy a house, a residential home, whether it's a 1 unit, 2, 3, or 4 unit. So it can be like a duplex, triplex, or quadplex. You live in an area of the home and rent out the rest. And so the base concept comes from, like, let's say you had a duplex, where you can buy pretty much a 2 unit. You live in 1 unit, rent out the other one. Rent that you collect from the other unit pays for the mortgage. That's the base level that people first are introduced to it as.
Okay.
Sometimes you may not have a 2, 3, or 4 unit though. So what I ended up doing when I was in grad school, I bought a 4-bedroom house. The 4-bedroom house, I lived in 1 bedroom and rented out 3 other bedrooms. And so from that, the what's it called? The mortgage was $850. I think the mortgage was like $850. The rents I collected were I gotta remember these numbers now. think they're like 595, like 400, and then 495, something like that. I remember they totaled to 1440. I just those three different bedrooms totaled to 1440 that I was collecting in rent. So now
in the mortgage and then some.
So yes, I pay off the mortgage in full. I pay off all the utilities in full, and I was able to cash flow a little bit extra for like variable expenses, all while living there. So I'm living for free. I'm getting paid to live there, and then I'm making all the money that I'm making from my grad research assistant job. I'm able to pocket all of that. So now that's going into investing into education. That can go into building your business. That can go into expediting your way towards building wealth. Because now you've lowered your biggest monthly expense. All you have left is your car. Especially, this really works very well when you are like young and single. Like that's just the facts of it, because you have less expenses. So for me, young and single, it worked really well because now I don't have a car note. I was driving the same car since high school. Beat up and all. People laugh at me because it drives because it's like a gas guzzler, makes a lot of noise. Don't matter. It doesn't have a car note, so that's less overhead. Excuse me, less overhead. And so now all I have to worry about is food.
Let me pause you right there, because what I'm hearing is the discomfort, right? Mm-hmm. And people also want the instant gratification.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
You're driving this beat up car, which we've all done, but we made a race to get out of that beat up car and get into something new, something nice, maybe even a luxury vehicle.
You're right.
Which drains all your resources. And then also with the living situation, people don't want somebody else rooming with them or sharing their space. So how did you get yourself in the mindset or the will to just be like, look, I'm going to be uncomfortable for a specific period of time?
That is it. So perfect word that you're using is the word comfortable. We actually created a term. It's called comfortability versus profitability. And so what it means is that the more comfortable you are, the less profitable you are. And if you choose to become more uncomfortable, the more profitable you will be. And our goal is early financial freedom, we have to just delay gratification for a finite amount of time. So let's say if we delay gratification for 4 to 5 years, that supercharges our way to being able to achieve financial freedom at an early age and being able to live the life that we desire for the next 40 or 50, 60 years. Versus the people who rush out to go buy the best house, the dream house, to buy the dream car right out of college. They are pretty much tying themselves up with larger monthly expenses. So now you have to build up your business up a whole lot more to even leave your 9 to 5. And it may require you more time than what you are able to give because of the fact that you have to create so much income for yourself in order to survive. And so now you're pretty much tying yourself up to the point where you may end up working for the next 40 years. And so we delay gratification for 5 years. You were working for those first 5 years. You may have had a better lifestyle, but because we were delaying before, now we're going to be able to achieve level 2 financial freedom. So level 1 was just covering your base monthly expenses. Level 2 is where you are able to live your dream lifestyle, because now your business has grown to a certain level. You've had time to invest into the business and build proper systems in place to build a team around you to where now you can afford a lifestyle that you desire. So whatever your dream life is, what the big mansion, forget the intro level house that you were trying to getting out of college. Forget the intro level luxury car. Now you can get the Lambos.
So now that delay in gratification actually propels you. So you actually skip over, like you said, the house to purchase. You kind of skip over that level in life, and then you go to a much higher level because you delayed it a little bit.
Yes, sir. So because you delay early, you reap the fruits of your labor way earlier as well, because you are living like no one else early. So now you'll be able to live like no one else can later. And that is the ultimate goal. So having all that in mind is why we're okay with being uncomfortable right now, because we know we have a vision for where we want our life to be at. And we know that we're not going to be able to get there as fast as we want to if our expenses are so high early on.
So That's the 2 levels. Any more levels? Because
Level 3. Level 3 is just where you can buy anything money can buy. That's where you can invest millions. So what?
you do what?
You can buy anything money can buy. You can, like, money is just you laugh at the word money at that point because you have so much coming in, so residual, where you can invest millions of dollars into different foundations that you care about. You can travel the world as many times as you want to. You can no money is not an issue at that point. At level 3, like that, it's you sneeze and make 100,000. Like that's what level 3 looks like.
I'm trying to get to level 3. I think I need some more delays, man. I got
Yeah, man. So, but that's why I said it all starts with that level. It starts off with building towards level 1, and you can get to level 1 a lot faster by decreasing your expenses while you increase your income. So so level 1. I guess the slogan for level 1 to achieve level 1 is comfortability versus profitability. That's like the slogan to achieve level 1. It's just lowering your expenses and delayed gratification to be able to achieve that first level.
Got it. And I'm noticing something just throughout your journey of success, which only from our conversation started way back in 7th grade. Knowing you've probably been successful from preschool, they were probably, this kid knows ABCs forward, backward, sideways. You've also done that same method of delayed gratification with college. There's so many people that skip over the education part because it's hard. It's not easy. Even applying to college can be difficult or be a deterrent. Filling out your FAFSA can be a
man.
Going through all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to stay focused and committed. You ran the 4.0. You did all of this stuff. So you're continuing to live this lifestyle of comfortability versus profitability. It's become you.
Yeah. So in a way, I could definitely see it as such. I would say I don't want to take all the credit either, because especially getting into college, I give tremendous credit to the people that I had around me, especially like my parents, my dad, even. I think that back when I was like in junior and senior year of high school, I know that he did a lot to help me out as far as getting into different colleges. So one thing he would do is, for one, he would sign me up for different football camps like throughout the summers. But then more importantly, after I got game film from the season, he would send it out to like hundreds of, probably even thousands of different coaches around the country. Like he was adamant, like I know that so matter of fact, this is a good point to make with this. There's a saying from Grant Cardone. It's that's a big real estate mogul. He says, "Best known beats best." Yep, best known beats best means that you can be the best person out there, like in whatever you're doing, but if nobody knows you, it doesn't even matter. Like when you think about toothpaste, what's your first brand you think about?
Colgate.
Colgate. If somebody answer that question, it's going to probably be Colgate or Crest as the answer more times than not. That's because there could be a perfect, way better toothpaste out there that nobody knows about. Because they don't know about it, they're not going to buy it. They're going to go with what they know, which is Colgate and Crest. Same thing back in high school, going to college. I could be the best athlete in the world. If nobody knows me, they're not going to give me a scholarship. So my dad was like, man, I got to get him in front of more people because I know that he's good. I just need people to see that. If more coaches see it, it's going to give me a better chance of getting recruited by somebody and being able to get that full ride scholarship. So I owe a lot to having that system around me. But I wouldn't say it's impossible to do it for yourself. I just say that I'm not going to claim that I did it alone either, though.
Yeah, but it's awesome to have that kind of support system, and then to be able to look back and acknowledge it too. That you had somebody there to drive you, motivate you, and keep pushing you forward, and to believe in you. I mean, just out to that many recruiters or coaches and colleges. I mean, that's somebody who really supports and believes in.
No doubt. I mean, so I definitely want to say shout out to my support system, because even my extended family, like my grandmother, aunt, uncle, cousins, like a lot of people have been great supporters of me as I continue to elevate through different levels of life, whether it was through grade school, junior high, high school, college, even after college, graduating, entrepreneurship. I have a great support system. So I definitely want to say shout out to all of them, because a lot of what I am today wouldn't be possible without them.
Awesome. And then you're continuing to invest in real estate. And what other type of businesses or investments are you currently in?
So primarily, my real estate right now has really just been focused on like the house hacks. So I don't want to focus too much on anything besides the actual business that I'm doing, which is the rental car space. So for anybody who doesn't know, me and my dad also went into the rental car business starting back in August of 2020. So I graduated from Purdue in July of 2020. And we had heard so many different people on our podcast that were doing different businesses. And I was telling my dad, I was telling everybody, I said, as soon as I graduate from grad school, one of these businesses that I learned about from all these different guests, I'm getting into something. I'm itching. I got to do something. Like, I feel like I've been in a jail cell at this point because I'm just watching everybody else doing all these different businesses and I can't, and I'm writing a thesis. So I'm doing homework at midnight. I'm like, bro, I don't have the time capacity right now, but as soon as I get it, I'm jumping into something. I'm jumping into a lot of somethings, actually. The problem with most entrepreneurs is that actually they jump into everything when they first get started. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, because it's a good thing because you don't know what you don't know. So you want to try everything. But it's a bad thing because most people continue to try to build up everything all at once. And so if like for me, for instance, when I first graduated from Purdue, I tried to get into stock options. I tried to get into rental cars. I'm not going to say tried. I delved into each one of these. So stock options, rental cars, mobile homes, tried to build out an app for myself. I tried to get into a pest control business, tow trucking. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, I tried to sell T-shirts, lots of different things that I was actually pursuing all at one time. And so it's like, bro, you're not an entrepreneur. You're just confused at this point. Like, you don't know what you want to do in life. And so I learned that because of the morning meetup. Just to shout out to the morning meetup. That was one thing that I learned leaving 2020, was that the art of focusing on one thing. So as we left 2020, say again?
Which is your gift. So
right. And so when I encompass my gift of focusing and consistency with whatever, it doesn't matter what the business is. And that's another big one. It doesn't matter what business I chose. I could have chose mobile homes. I could have chose stock options. I could have chose real estate, could have chose anything. But when I focus, that's when I'm going to begin to excel in it. So when we took rental cars, because me and my dad had been running that business for like 4 or 5 months. And we're like, this is doing pretty well. Like, what if we focused in on this and actually started getting a few more vehicles in our fleet? And so going from December 2020 to January 2021, I set out a goal for 2021 to achieve 10 cars in 2021. We achieved 10 cars by, I think, August. And we were able to acquire a total of 12 cars in 2021. I think we ended with a total of, I think, 10 or 11. I'm starting to lose count now because it's really about to start ramping up now. But that was all because of the fact that we chose to focus in on one thing. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have gotten that far had I been trying to build the mobile home business while simultaneously trying to start my own app, while simultaneously trying to sell T-shirts. It wouldn't have been possible because you only have so much time in a day. So if you imagine having 5 buckets and you have 100, let's say 100 gallons of water. If you put all 100 gallons into one bucket of water, that bucket is going to overflow. But if you have to spread it out between all 5 buckets, each one is going to get a little bit of your time. None of them are going to overflow. Each one is going to just get a little bit. And so they're all going to be sitting here needing more. And that's kind of what you do as an entrepreneur. When you get into too many different things at one time, you're not able to give enough attention to anything to reap the harvest or the overflow of everything that all the effort that you're putting into those buckets. So that's kind of what we learned from 2020 going into 2021.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn. I've been in the same boat myself. A little bit of it is kind of trying to find yourself and your passion and your gift. Some people early, and some people don't get it, until a little bit later. And sometimes you have to try these different things until you hit something that just really speaks to you, and you find out, look, this is my gift, this is my passion.
Yep.
But then you should definitely lock in, like and just be dedicated to that one thing.
Yeah, and I would say, man, we've had one guest that came on our podcast. Shout out Andre Hatchett. There was one thing that I love that he said. So he actually runs a mobile notary business. He says that he's not necessarily passionate about the mobile notary business, but what he is passionate about is what it can do for him. So you may not even be passionate about what you do, but it may enable you to do what you want to do. It's because if it has value in the market, that is where you want to make sure that you capitalize on that opportunity, because that can propel you to do what you want to do, whether it's living out your purpose or whether it's just being able to live your dream lifestyle. So whether I want to impact millions by just being able to speak to people, if that's one of my passions, I need to be able to have some type. It's way easier to do that when you know that money is not an issue. So if you build up a business that can support your lifestyle, that's what level 2 financial freedom was. You support your dream lifestyle with your business that you've built up, that's systematized, where you don't have to give your time into it. Whether the business is your passion or not, it can still provide the lifestyle you desire. And so mobile notary business for him wasn't necessarily his passion, but he's able to live the life he wants by having his dream house, having his dream car, being able to travel the world. That's all. He says the passion comes on the back end for some people, and that's still possible.
Yes, yes. Well, look, I appreciate you so much for sharing so much with us. One last thing I did want to talk to you about, though. You have a course or a mentorship that people can actually learn how to do what it is that you're doing, so they can be successful like yourself.
Yes, sir. So, like I said, my niche is in the rental car space. So, if people are looking to achieve financial freedom from starting off with the car in their driveway, they can do that by renting out their cars on platforms such as Turo. There's other platforms like Hire Car. And that's a way for people to get started in the rental car business. So what we really do is we target people who are looking to build another stream of income that maybe end up being their ultimate business at some point. So our program, me and my dad, is called Rebus Rental Cars. So we're actually looking to do a full-on rebranding of it. But right now we have rebusrentalcars.com/course. You'll be able to tap into the entire program that we put together. It's a 6-phase program that teaches you how to go from having no cars in order to, all the way to actually building out your business and having a fleet of cars that you know how to operate, rent out, park, everything in between getting your car purchased from the dealership all the way to actually operating the business on Turo, Hire Car, etc. So that's what the course is all about, and that's a good way. That's how we've been able to. That's how I've been able to build my way towards early financial freedom, by going through the rental car business.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you giving back with platforms like your course, your mentorship, and your podcast, because a lot of people are like you were when they first read that Rich Dad Poor Dad or something that interests them, and they don't have a community that they can be around. And it's things like what you're offering that allows people to branch out.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man.
The slide that you gave will be in the description, but also the link tree that is scrolling across right there. They can tap in to that link as well, and I'll make sure that they have adequate access to get to it. We don't want them to miss that.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Yep. So I got something I like to do. The show's called Successfully. It's Clues Podcast. So I like to point out at least 3 clues that I noticed throughout our conversation. And I'm quite sure the guest will notice so much more. But the first thing I noticed was you talk about what your superpower is, what your gift is, and that's your ability to stay focused and dedicate your consistency. And consistency is definitely a key in becoming successful, in whether it's in the corporate sector or whether it's in your education or even in entrepreneurship. You have to remain dedicated to something and be consistent. And then you talked about your support system. And I think the support system and community, like you were talking about, you have to find yourself other like-minded individuals who are going the same direction or are already in place where you want to be. I think, things like your show, things like this show, and even the morning meetup, those type of places, if you don't already have that in your community, those are places that you can tap into that type of thing. And then the third thing I have to say it's the delayed gratification, which talks, you know, being uncomfortable for a specific amount of time, so that way you can skip levels and really get where you want to be and get to that financial freedom. And you talked about money not even being an object, and that's something I like to kind of think about because for most of us, our entire lives have been based off of not the options, but what we can do based off of our resources.
Right.
And it's awesome to get to a place where you can actually change that.
Yes, sir. No, I love the takeaways that you have from here. The first one that you said, could you repeat that one? Do you remember it? Because I had three of them that I wanted to talk about as well. That kind of was very synonymous with it. Matter of fact, I remember it now. You said consistency, you said community, and you said delayed gratification. I was thinking of one more. I know I didn't talk about it here, but when you talk about, I've done 3 C's before, and I know there was one that was also a big factor that I think a lot of people can take away from this entire conversation. The word is confidence. You gain confidence by first gaining competence. So competence comes from the education piece. I don't want people to overlook that, because the education is where everything started off at. Before I got into real estate, it was education. Before I got into rental cars, it was education. Before I left 9 to 5, it was all educating on how I'm going to be able to execute this. So when you become competent in an area, that gives you the confidence to take action and to be willing to go with what you know is to be true based on what you've studied, based on what you've seen. That confidence was really that played a huge role in me being able to do everything that I've been able to do today. But like I said, it first comes from the education and competence of it.
Thank you so much. I want to remind everybody out there, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Until next time on Success Leaves Clues podcast.
Yes, sir.